Hello, companions. Welcome to the Companion Podcast. I'm Brady, and I'm joined with Dillon, Peyton, and Trevor. Why don't you guys all say hi?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. A little delayed there, but that's
all right. That's all right, Dillon.
We're going. We're rolling.
We'll start with Dillon. Dillon, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself? I'm not gonna do any icebreaker bullshit.
Oh,
just
yeah.
like say whatever you
Hi.
want.
It's like, oh, hey, welcome to class. Would you like to play 14 games? So that's all the exact
Stand
same
up.
thing.
Please
Stand up, state your name and your favorite animal.
Where do you go to school? Where you graduated from? What you're doing now? Your favorite color? Your favorite animal? And your favorite big box retailer. Go.
You know what? Everyone, whenever people ask me, hey, what's your favorite color? I always feel really, really shitty kind of to answer because I'm like, I like gray.
It's so bland and boring.
Gray is my
Gray,
favorite
black,
color. And
white.
everyone's like, wow, that's such an emo punk thing to say. They're like,
Yeah.
you hate yourself? And I'm like, yeah. But actually, my favorite color is tungsten, but everyone...
Tungsten?
What
Yeah.
kind of color
That's
is
a
that?
metal.
Can you
What color
explain,
is
elaborate,
tungsten?
please?
That's a metal.
It's like yes, it's an element, but it's still a color.
Yo, what's your
like the
favorite
black
color?
of tungsten?
Sulfur.
Nickel.
I mean, sulfur is yellow, green, I guess.
Dude, hold on. Speaking of elements, I've got some gallium. You know what gallium is?
Isn't that the
Yes.
stuff that can melt in your hand?
Mm-hmm.
Heck yeah.
Dude.
Wow.
How do you keep track of that?
Yeah.
Is it like run on the
It's
floor and you
running
lose
away.
it?
Well, hold on.
Are you from the fifth dimension?
Yes, absolutely. Gotta just.
Man,
Rub
I
my
found
hands
some
together.
bismuth out back. Also, this nice chunk of iron. Hot shit.
I've got samples of every element in the periodic table.
Oh, yeah?
Actually, we've got some of that
Do
here
you?
at the university. Well, most of them except for the radioactive stuff.
No, we have
got
those
some
too.
uranium laying around.
Well, no, in the chemistry building, the front doors, there's like a huge periodic table with a little bit of every element other than the radioactive stuff, because they're not gonna like put it in a box in the middle of a building where thousands of students walk through.
Well, I mean, yeah. You got a point.
Yeah. I feel like that's a huge liability, if anything.
Nah, man.
Definitely.
It's
Nah.
like it's like, okay, cool. It's an educational thing. It's like having someone walk through an X-ray machine like 3 times a day. What's the big harm about it?
Let's not pull another Nagasaki, okay? Let's not
Oh
have
my
that happen.
God. Straight to
God.
Japan.
All right, Peyton.
Oh.
So now we're derailed. I'm gonna put us back on the tracks here. Peyton.
Yo.
Actually, Dillon, you never even introduced
I
yourself
just
at all.
talked about my favorite color, and everyone gives me crap about it.
Gray.
All you have to
Gray.
do is say your name, which is already been established,
Announced, yes.
and maybe I don't know, your relation to me. Yeah, in which way are you my companion?
How am I attached to you?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've known you for how long? How many years? 14
kindergarten?
years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kindergarten.
Just about.
Before that, yeah.
Well, yeah, Taylor and Kinsey were friends before we
Yeah,
met.
that was, and then we were probably like 3 or 4.
Yeah, just about, but
gotta
you
guess.
can't remember anything back then.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, my first memory of is looking up at the preschool wall and seeing the brown rectangle and being like, oh, that's what that color is.
Oh, that's a brown rectangle.
Oh, that's a brown rectangle.
There you go.
Way to go. But yep, that's my connection relationship to you.
nice
story.
I'm also a University of Iowa student.
Yes, we live across the river, but we are
Yep.
close at heart.
We have
Right,
Monday
Dillon?
lunch days.
Yes,
Dates.
we watch TV
It's
in my
very
room
sweet.
on Mondays.
What,
Yeah,
what's your
I get done
class
eating and I
schedule?
walk over.
Yeah. What, Trevor?
Sorry, what's up, Trev?
No, nothing. You're just giving a lot of information away.
That's
and I'm
not
like,
a lot of information.
I mean,
You're next.
I'm Peyton. How's it going? I like
about-
red.
Red.
no. I'm a huge nerd, and
Really?
I go to Kirkwood Community College, and my relation to Braden
is we did an 8th grade movie together,
Oh yeah, we
and
did.
it was lit.
Oh
I
my
died a
God,
lot in the
dude.
movie, but
I remember watching that. You sent me the video. You're like as tall as I am now. like-
yeah, I was really short. Like I was shorter
Yeah.
than Josh and Garrett at the time. I
Dude,
think
that was awesome. That movie was so much fun. We were.
that was great.
I was the spy and you were my sidekick.
I was, and I was like,
didn't you die at the end?
I died like 10 different times in
and I
that
had
movie.
to carry you down the
Yeah,
stairs.
yeah. Like one of the scenes was, I didn't want to be dragged, on a concrete floor,
Oh yeah.
with my bare head just like grinding across the concrete floor. So I put my hood up,
Oh.
and Brayden grabbed the hood and dragged me across the hallway.
I remember that. Good times.
See, what I remember from my 8th grade applied
You were in the
second
dinosaur
year-
costume.
Yeah, I was wearing this giant lizard costume, and I had a frying pan. That was the whole plot of the
The
movie.
OG
is
PUBG days,
is
Dillon,
this
yes.
stupid giant lizard starts kidnapping and killing people.
Wait, didn't you
Oh
win
my-
the best of the semester though?
We won best visual effects, and we had no visual effects.
It was just you in a costume.
We had like 2 or 3 visual effects. I think the visual effects and music award were like mixed in together, and it was just like suspenseful like knockoff Jaws music, like of me like in this giant lizard costume walking around the corner.
That whole project was such a shit show.
Yeah, it was. It
we
was garbage.
one of the scenes in our movie, Braden, we had the toy helicopter, and we put like a
Oh, you're
really
right.
shitty green filter over it to act like, oh yeah, they're flying. Hey,
I remember that.
they're going
And
to
we
a
had,
different
like,
location now.
The bass boosted like the helicopter, the chopper blade sound. Oh
Yeah.
man, that was so funny. She taught us how to put clips in and find royalty-free music, and that's it. And she just sent us on our way for like 4
Yeah.
weeks.
Here's a video camera and like an idea. Here, go make something that you'll regret for the rest of your life.
I do not
don't
regret that.
mine.
Still, alright.
It's my
I
magnum
regret mine.
opus.
Oh,
I
yeah.
regret mine only because of all the editing that I look back on, and I'm just like, oh my god, this looks atrocious.
Yeah, being done with it, you're like, wow, I could have done a lot better.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Oh.
there's a part where one of my actors just freaking looked at the camera and he's like, "Am I supposed to?" Oh yeah, that's right. And then he says another line.
Oh no.
Like, oh my god, come on.
So the videos were supposed to be like 3 minutes, but ours was 10. So we got points docked for having it be so long. But like,
Yeah.
we had this really involved story and everything, so we couldn't
We
cut
did.
anything. So
I got
we
I
just
got
we
best
just did
I
it.
got best director though.
Hey, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, at
Yeah,
the end
well,
of our
Trevor-
movie, we had like 3 minutes of bloopers that we didn't need, but those were
Yeah.
honestly like one of the best parts of the movie.
That's the best part.
Oh my god, the bloopers were the best part of the movie.
That's the only thing everybody cared about when we watched them at the end of the trimester, semester, or
For
whatever.
sure.
It was
Oh,
trimester, I think, back then.
I think so.
Ugh.
All right, well, Peyton, thank you for sharing. Trevor, you're up next.
Hello. It's me, Trevor.
It's me.
It's me,
It's me.
ya boy.
You all know me from that one thing, right?
Yeah, boy.
No.
I still go to high school at Prairie, and I mean I'm also a huge nerd along with Peyton, but I'm like not a superhero nerd.
Heyo.
I'm like a D&D nerd.
Good.
Like your stereotypical like you gotta cast fireball. I'm like that guy.
You're like the magic.
Not Magic the Gathering. Don't say that.
No, like magic.
Oh no, you're bringing
uh,
back cat
ew.
ears flashbacks.
Oh no, cat ears.
Cat ears.
We're not gonna talk about him.
Did you see he's got he came back after Christmas and he's got headphones with light up cat ears on them
Oh,
and the cat
no,
ears
those
have
are
speakers in
horrible.
them. Yeah.
No, those are bad.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Anyway,
Yeah.
just to clear everything up, we all went to the same high school and we all play video
Yes.
games together. That's why we're.
Yeah. Well, actually, I only recently started talking to Braden because we started playing. Was it Overwatch? No, it was Terraria first.
Oh yeah.
And then we started playing Overwatch together. But the first time I met him was in 7th grade
Yeah.
when we were waiting for our moms collectively to come pick us up, and my brother was sitting there talking to him, and I'm like, I don't know who you are, but you seem pretty cool, and you
Hey.
don't dislike me.
Yeah,
And then I
that's
was
all you
like,
look for in
this
a
guy's
friend.
cool. I know a 9th grader, and then I never talked to him ever again.
Until now,
So,
and now we're together again.
Until right now. How's it going, Braden?
Hi,
I
it's
haven't
been a
seen
long
you in
time.
what? Yeah.
I haven't seen Braden in 2 years.
Not
Yay!
that we've been talking every day on Discord for the past like 3 months or anything.
Or so. Yeah.
1 week.
One
No.
No, I've been in Florida, dude. I've been in Florida. It was a good time. It was a good time.
I guess.
Disneyland. It's not that great of a place when you burn easily, but
Ooh, rip.
Fucking
Wow.
vampire.
yeah.
Well,
The sunburn's not much better. Get it?
haha.
No, never mind.
That was really funny, Trevor. Thanks for that.
All
Alright,
right,
you know what?
now
I'm-
who?
you
All
know
right,
what I'm also
so
good
we're
at?
gonna cast our
Terrible
votes for who gets
jokes.
kicked off the island first.
Yeah. Trevor with his
Hey,
horrible
yeah.
dad jokes.
Brain, can you edit that out, please?
I
Can you-
will.
Can you just
Not.
thank you.
I'll keep it in.
No.
Final cut.
Suffer.
I will not.
What's
I
that?
am the
what's
keeper
that
of the
meme?
keys. I will do what I want.
Oh damn.
What's that meme? It's just like suffer or something like it's the Obama one.
Oh yeah, he's like looking down his nose at a camera, and it's just like
Yeah.
suffer.
Yeah.
So
He's woke.
so we've spent the past we've been on video games for the past like 4 hours probably.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Playing
That was a good
playing
time.
some Overwatch and
Getting butthurt.
yeah.
My favorite part.
Yeah.
Memories.
Yeah, this marks this is gonna date this podcast, but Hanzo still has his scatter arrow.
Hanzo sucks. Remove him.
Hanzo's getting a nerf. Hopefully it's a huge nerf.
It's more of a patch, I get, because it's like
yeah, it's not really
it's not helping him, but it's not like
it's taking away
nerfing
a scatter
him.
arrow, which can kill a tank in one shot, which is
Yeah.
absolute horseshit.
Yes,
Oh,
it
God,
is.
I know.
It really is. So his abilities are volley and disengage.
Yeah, which I think
And the
disengage
worst-
would be pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah, disengage is a
Excuse me.
horizontal leap, so he can have a getaway ability,
Getaway.
so he doesn't get completely screwed over when he gets rushed.
Yeah.
So then no more
well,
Sonic
then-
Arrow?
No, Sonic Arrow.
Sonic Arrow is staying.
I
yeah.
think disengage
Okay.
is gonna be his left click or
Is
his
that
right
a
click.
passive, or
What is?
so what's disengage?
Disengage is like it's kind of like
It's like a
Genji's
dodge,
dash, except
yeah.
it's like you can like dash back or dash to the side.
Mm.
So it's Moira's spooky thing.
Yeah,
but there's
it's kind of like a
Except
blink.
it's like a
But
leap.
not
Actually,
in,
no,
in
actually,
a single
I was
direction without going invisible.
yeah,
And
I
not
was reading the
invulnerable.
patch notes
Yeah.
or
Okay.
reading something. Jeff maybe made a
Papa
YouTube
Jeff.
video
Jeff
about
Kaplan.
it.
Jeff, my dad.
Yeah, my dad Jeff. He
My
was
name's
talking about
Jeff.
how it's like it's mechanically identical to like blink. So he gets
Okay.
like one blink, but he doesn't like disappear. He like moves back. So he can kind of like get out of the way of something like a tracer bomb or a diva mech explosion or something. I don't know.
I'm just waiting for like a straight up like World of Warcraft style, like straight out of World of Warcraft, like robe and staff, just spellcaster.
That'd be pretty cool.
I would love that so much.
I really hope they
Like-
don't do the whole thing where they like, because I know they put Overwatch heroes in Heroes of the Storm. I hope they don't do the
Yes.
opposite where they like put other random people
No,
in Overwatch.
yeah, no, not like.
No, I don't think they're gonna do
I
that.
don't. I don't
think-
want them to be like. I don't want them to be like. Here's Medivh in an Overwatch in a
Yeah,
match.
no, like,
I
all
just
of-
want them to be like.
Mario.
Wow.
Can you imagine
Sorry,
Mario in
Overwatch Smash
Overwatch?
Bros.
Oh my god.
Dude, that would be lit.
Dude,
that is
Tracer's gonna
Overwatch.
Tracer for Smash for the Switch. Double confirmed.
Really?
No.
Wow.
God no.
Wow.
gets so excited. Really?
Wow.
I mean, Nintendo's starting to get less stingy with all their IPs. So who knows? Like
Yeah, 'cause they're
they've
like-
Yeah, they're getting
they're letting
Dark
Crash
Souls.
Bandicoot
They're
in,
getting,
aren't they?
yeah, they're getting remastered Dark Souls on there May 25th.
Oh,
so.
what was the other game I saw on the Switch that was like, what is happening? I know Doom's on there, Skyrim's on there.
Doom
Doom
is
is
on
on
there.
there?
There's another game that's like coming out soon or came out recently that's like
Well-
I looked at it like, excuse me?
I'm glad that I'm glad they're doing that because the things that were
Words.
so awful with the Wii U and the Wii is where that like they had like no games. They had like only Nintendo games. So
Yeah.
this way you buy the Switch and it's like an Xbox. You can play games that
Yeah,
that,
I think that's what they're trying to do.
yeah, and I'm actually really happy about
I'm
that.
all for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and another reason I really want the Switch before a lot of like its add-ons and stuff, because they're definitely adding on to it, because with the what is it, cardboard stuff.
Oh, Nintendo
you
Labo.
Yeah. So like all that stuff. In the patent for the Switch, it has capability for what we already know, mobile gaming and like TV gaming. But on one of the Joy-Cons, there's a like a distance reader, and it's like used for augmented reality and
Yeah.
a lot of other things. So it can be used for that, and also the Joy-Cons can be used for like, I think they're called Joy-Cons. I don't know.
Yeah, they are.
They can be essentially used as like VR like wireless controllers. So they're probably
Oh.
gonna make like a VR headset for it and release VR games for it. So it's got all types of gaming on it pretty much. And
Interesting.
I can't wait.
I want to talk about VR now.
Oh, ooh.
Okay, so
Bucket list item.
let me just say, I was at Best Buy the other day.
Yep.
That's where I got my Diva Pop.
Oh my god, it's so
yes,
cute.
I know, I
please,
love it.
Give that to me, Brayden.
But I was looking like, oh, maybe I should get a new video card for my computer. Like, I was like, oh man, maybe I should get the 1080, the Nvidia 1080.
Is it still ridiculously
It is
overpriced?
$900.
Jesus
You know why?
Christ.
Because people are Bitcoin mining, and
Yes.
I know.
that's the reason they're so expensive. Like all of them
The
are so
market
expensive.
like exploded, and you can't get anything worth a shit for less than
Like,
like $500.
Isaac recently bought a new PC because he's in Connecticut for the Navy, and he bought a 1060 for $350. I have my 1070 in my computer right now that I got for $300. So it's like,
Yeah.
why are they getting so expensive?
my
and
God.
why are so many people still Bitcoin mining when it gets you nowhere?
So
I know.
annoying.
I
And
did
so
the-
the reason.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Dylan, go ahead.
Okay. I did the
Or
math.
I'm the captain now.
Okay.
No, that's just the reason why I said that was when Dylan said something about VR. There's like a bunch of VR displays at Best Buy, but like they're really trying really hard, and like
to push VR.
yeah, and like
Yeah.
part of me is like, oh man, that'd be really fun to play that, but like the games right now are garbage for VR. I
yeah.
really
Yeah.
want them to like happen, but it's gonna be a while until those are like consumer price, because
And
like
it- and it's
nobody's
not
gonna
only-
pay $500.
It's not only games that I want to play in VR. It's just like things that I want to see. Cause like, have you ever seen those the Valve's The Lab is a perfect like example of this. Like it's an example of what all you can do with VR, and there's just a section where they literally go like on top of a mountain and shoot like super realistic 360 and like everything. So it's like you're there, and I
Oh.
just want to I want to be there without actually being there.
That's true. I mean,
like Ready Player One, I guess. I haven't
I was
seen
just
that
about to bring
movie,
that up.
I haven't seen it
but
yet.
but
how,
yeah.
have any of you seen that?
I haven't.
No, but I did
I-
watch an Easter egg video on it, and I'm not ashamed of myself.
I honestly don't think it's going to be very good. I've heard it's good, and I've heard it's trash. I
I've
don't
heard
think
it's
it's going to
good.
be very good because there's got to be way too much like nerd culture stuff that
They
they're going to
cram
cram
way
in
too
there to
many,
get
I bet.
everyone to go see it.
Like, they
That's
put
why I
Tracer
want to go.
at the end of the trailer just because like all the Overwatch people are like, oh man, it's Tracer.
Yeah,
How do they
exactly.
get the rights to everything? Do they?
That's my question.
Do they
A lot of-
legally?
a lot of the
lot
things-
of money.
A lot
well,
of
that
money.
and a lot of the things that they use are from Steven Spielberg, and guess what? Steven Spielberg is directing this movie, so,
So
Yeah.
you can pull
has
Jurassic
everything.
Park.
Yeah,
you
he
can
has-
pull
he has
any big
everything.
blockbuster
He's got-
that he's ever produced.
Yes.
And you
look
don't
it
have to
up.
pay
Hold on.
Yeah, so
copyrights,
he's-
royalties. There you go.
Yep, like
Steven
the DeLorean.
Spielberg.
DeLorean is in
okay,
there.
guys.
So.
I don't want to digress the situation or the
you're
conversation,
fine.
but Payday 2 is on the Nintendo Switch. That was the game I
Ah.
was like,
Oh.
Okay.
Payday
crazy.
2, that is
Yeah,
one
I
of my
saw that and I was
favorite
like,
games of
that's
all
Oh,
time.
guys, are you guys gonna be ready for the Schindler's List Easter egg in Ready Player One?
what?
Schindler's
What?
List?
I'm looking up what all like
When did that
Steven
come out?
Spielberg
Like
has under
1990?
his belt. Let's see, because I want to know like what all he's been directed. Let's see. I can't find
Because
it.
Ready Player One, the book came out in 2011. So, if I'm correct, don't quote me on that, but
Dude, he's got the Animaniacs and Shrek.
Oh,
No,
Shrek.
oh
Yeah,
he was the
Shrek.
he was the uncredited executive producer of Shrek in
Oh, no.
2001.
Also,
Wow,
if
that
you're
makes
on
me like that
Amazon,
movie even more.
if you're sitting on Amazon scrolling through Switch games like I am, once
Yeah.
you get to page like 8, it's all Switchblades.
Oh my no.
You type in Switch games, and
Yeah.
it comes up with like a book of like how not to lose your
No,
fingers.
all right, guys.
Switchblade
All right,
games.
Yeah.
I'm going to Ready Player One only for the Gremlins Easter egg.
I've never seen
no.
Gremlins, so
Wow, Dylan, you are missing out.
I mean,
I
should
produced
I
the
be honest and
Twilight
say I
Zone
haven't seen it
movie.
either?
I mean, yeah, you can be honest.
E.T.
I'm not gonna like dog on you.
you're not
for
gonna
it. I don't
dog
really-
on him, but you're gonna
I don't-
dog on me.
Hey, no,
Immediately
no,
dug
no,
on
no, no.
Dylan.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of upsetting that Braden hasn't seen it yet, but like, I don't really care all that much.
Me and Peyton are on a different wavelength, so it's all
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Letters from Iwo Jima. Oh,
Letters from
should
Iwo
watch
Jima?
that.
I just
Yeah.
I just feel like that kind of movie is a little bit ambitious. Like, look,
The whole
this is all
concept of
us in
Ready
video
Player One?
games. What
Honestly,
if you could jump into your computer? Like, okay,
Yeah.
relax, you know?
Eat.
It's trying too hard, I think, in my opinion. It's
I
don't know.
always.
I don't know.
Sorry, are you done or?
Yeah, I'm done. 'Cause
Okay.
I
Is you
can't.
done?
Is you done?
Straight
no,
up.
Yeah, I can't formulate any words right now.
Because I always I like the concept. You always run into these movies where you have a singular down on your luck hero, and you have the whole world is like the antagonist, and this one lonely guy and his little band of merry men are the protagonists. You got Little John, you got the monk, whatever, and you got the main guy or the main gal, Robin Hood, and
Little John.
you always run into this. It's like you always go up against like insurpassable odds, and generally I assume at the end of this he finds all 3 keys and he gets control of the Oasis and he turns it around for the betterment of mankind or something like that.
Oh my God,
I
that's how
haven't
all
read
those
You
those
haven't
movies
really
go.
followed this lore, because I have no idea what the
I
movie's
think
about.
that's essentially the plot line of it. Is there's
Isn't that how that always goes, though?
it literally that's like, and that's what I'm like, for this ambitious of a movie and this, all this pop culture from decades and everything like that, so many people can can like connect on this on like different levels, whether you're 40 or whether you're like 16, kind
Yeah.
of, if you share the same kind of background.
yeah.
But I kind of want to see something different than the standard typical, this multi-million-dollar corporation is out against us, and us with like our little, measly poverty from, I want to see something different than just them beating unsurpassable or insurpassable odds and getting the prize.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's you heard the old cliche of like the knight in shining armor goes and kills a dragon, gets the princess, right?
Yeah.
Now
Shrek.
it's the lowly. It's the lowly, impoverished, like, just guy who's just like, oh, you've got special powers and you can save the world, and
Same
Man,
thing.
I
or
just-
you,
cat-like
you have
reflexes to
I
win
just
the
want
video
like
game.
a Lord of the Rings style thing where you're just like, yo, you're in the most unlucky situation ever. Fix it. And they're like, and then they attempt to fix it.
I want a D&D campaign when you're
Oh my
starting out.
God.
You're starting out with nothing. You go through it. You're losing legs. Like you're getting like a peg leg. You're on a boat.
You're
something.
rolling ones.
Yeah. I want something that's real, but also like pushing the boundaries.
So like that's my thing with a lot of movies where like you can totally tell what's gonna happen, which I
Oh,
guess
yeah.
is hard. It's hard not to do that because it's like, okay, like it's the hero's quest. There's the
Uh-huh.
have you guys ever heard of the hero's quest kind of like
What
the,
is- yeah,
the
it's
circular kind
The
of thing
same
where it's-
rhetoric about every
you can take
exact
that
plot.
same thing, that same frame, and put it on every movie, and every single one will fit at least 90%.
Yeah.
And so like
And there's, sorry.
no, it's fine. It's just hard to like not do that, but I really wish that somebody would not do that. You know?
Yeah.
Exact-
And my thing is whenever I see a movie and then there's just like it's supposed to be like say Transformers for instance, I haven't seen it in forever, so I'm gonna definitely get things wrong. But like the whole setup before he even meets Bumblebee or whatever the first car he meets is, I think it's Bumblebee.
I've never seen Transformers.
Yes, it is.
It's like it's all like his life, and you're showing some hardships and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's because you're trying to make him feel for the character.
Exactly.
And so that when he faces trouble, you're like, oh, he better get past this, right? So now that I know that, I'm looking for it when I watch movies, and I'm just like, I don't feel anymore.
Yeah.
But wait, was it Steven Spielberg that did Dunkirk? I don't think so. But it was the other real famous guy. But
George
he did
Miller?
an amazing no. He did an amazing job like making you feel for them in the moment. Like the first like 30 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah,
the first 30
it's a very
seconds.
good movie.
Christopher Nolan, that's who
Yeah.
it is.
There we go. Yes. Dark Knight Rises. Yep. Everything.
In the first 30 seconds, you see a bunch of guys like walking down the street, right? And it's just completely silent, like boot steps and stuff. And all of a sudden, a gunshot goes off, and they're running for their lives, and you immediately feel for them. Like you don't need a big lead
And
up.
only,
It's just
what,
like,
like-
you need to take out the trash. Like,
Yeah. You don't need to see them back in 1938 on the farm like raising hogs and stuff like that. No,
Yeah.
that's
Jump right in there.
perfect. Being in France for those 15 seconds of them clearing streets as the Germans are dropping papers of "we're gonna kill you,"
exactly.
and murder you, everything like that. And literally, 15 seconds later, the 8-man squad, only 2 guys make it out, and you're like, that's hardcore, and you feel immediately for those guys. And it's
and then the boot scene. Oh, what a scene. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. I haven't seen the movie, but I've heard that it's really it's less about like the outside meaning, like I was talking to somebody, I think I was at Target like working, and some guy wandered up and started talking to me about the movie, and he said that like you know in your mind that they've got people that they love back home, but they don't make that apparent. They're not trying to make you feel like I have people back home.
there's
You
not a
know that.
flashback every 5 minutes
Yeah,
to
they're moving forward.
There's no
it's
time
more
where some guy
realistic.
pulls out a compass and then there's a picture of a woman inside of it. Like,
Yeah, like
or
that
a
kind
locket
of
or
stuff
blah,
is just
blah, blah.
horrible.
Yeah.
But like this isn't my opinion, but the guy that I was talking to said like it makes it more like emotionally like current in what's going on. So they're not like there's no like they don't pull you out of the situation to be like, oh, this was the greatest summer of my life, and he has like him skipping through the meadow with his wife, and then it flashes
And
forward
then
to him getting
thrust
shot at.
back into it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that kind of
projectile
stuff.
vomit. Like,
Yeah,
Ew.
this is kind of falling back to like where the plot is like kind of the same in all these movies and everything like that. Like I love. My mom loves HGTV and
Don't we all?
Oh yeah, oh god, I love HGTV. That, and she loves Hallmark. And like, so I always watch Hallmark movies with her and everything, and sometimes they're like, oh, it's a good murder mystery, and sometimes I'm thoroughly surprised. But, 98% of the time I'm like, within the first 5 minutes I'm like, all right, George was the thief, he stole this, but Becky is in love with Ryan, and they're gonna end up getting married at the end of this, and everything, and my mom just started like go the hell away and don't watch these movies with me because you'll
Leave
tell
me
me
alone.
what it's going to happen in the first 5 minutes. And I'm like, everything is so blatantly obvious to what's going to happen. You walk into these movies sometimes and you're like, and it's kind of the same. Like, I love Die Hard, but there's been 5 Die Hard movies, and every damn iteration of Die Hard, and I know it's the whole entire point, but you throw John McClane into some stupid ass scenario. He's in a hotel. He's being hunted by like terrorists, whatever. He's in Russia, and he always makes it out on top. And I know that's the whole point of it, but I'm like, he's gonna kill the bad guy. He's gonna get away with his son, or he's gonna save his daughter, or whatever. It's the same thing with Taken. He always gets his daughter back, or whatever.
Or
it's
his
like,
wife.
or the wife. Well, yeah. But it's I that's something that I'm almost getting bored of with going to movies, and that's why I loved seeing stuff like I have this huge poster I'm looking up right now and it's Mad Max Fury Road, and it's one of my favorite movies of all
Great
time
movie.
because it doesn't really hold true to like the standard plot lines of, oh hey, you have this character and he develops a love interest with this other character, and they go through the whole movie and they live through it, and you kind of come out happily ever
Yeah.
after
Isn't
with
there-
everything, and
isn't there,
everything
like,
kind of
a-
falls into place. Where
never
everything
mind.
does not go right. Your people are dying left and right. Like main characters die. It's entirely fresh and new. And at the end of the movie, Max doesn't even stick around.
Nope, he's
out.
like, yeet, I'm gone,
Yeet,
goodbye.
I'm
I
getting
don't
back
want to
in the
ever see
car.
you
I'm going back
again.
to the desert to live out my like mentally deluded fantasies of my wife and my kids that
nice-ass
died.
car. I don't need
Oopsies.
you.
But yeah. I'm
No,
like,
I
yeah,
feel the same way. Like, remember when Dillon, you and I saw Baby Driver, right? Together?
Oh yeah, same exact
great
thing.
movie, too.
I have it. It's actually sitting right next to me too.
Yeah,
it's
mine's
like
sitting right next to me.
yeah, it's
You know, actually,
it's completely different.
I kind of teared up at the end.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah, it's
You
an
know,
amazing
it's
ending.
crazy.
I don't want to spoil anything
Don't
for anybody who's
don't
not.
spoil it. I haven't seen it. I
No,
wanna
but
see
I mean,
it.
I'm not gonna try. I'm trying not to spoil anything, but just the
Yeah.
way that the character development works, it's just
Yeah.
really satisfying and real. And like even like from the get go, like the first scene, it's not like he's thinking about his mom or he's thinking
Right.
about this
His
girl he
dad.
likes. He's just doing his thing, and it just
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh
it,
my
it just
god, that
feels like
opening
Edgar
scene.
Wright is a genius, but like
First
Yeah.
6 minutes of that movie.
oh
All right.
man,
Hey,
it
hey,
just-
hey.
We're
I
not
haven't seen
spoiling
it
anything.
yet.
We're just talking about it.
Trevor, you gotta borrow my copy so you can watch it so we
Yeah.
can talk
It
about
just-
it.
it
I
makes
will
you
abs-
feel
Yeah.
like that
So
could
good.
actually happen in
It
the
is
real world.
exhilarating, dude. That whole movie.
Because
It's. Oh, sorry.
no, yeah, for the most part, everything in that movie is. I mean, if you watch the Cinema Sins about it, you're like, okay, yeah, that's completely bullshit. And like I'm not gonna spoil anything, but for the guys that have seen it, you know, the aerial and the cars when they swap and everything like that on the interstate.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
Like, you know, like totally situational. That Subaru is not does not look anything like those, like a Chevy or a, you know,
Yeah.
it has an air scoop on the front for for engine intake. It's like, you know, it doesn't look anything like those
Ram
cars, but
air.
whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
if
but,
we're gonna
like,
talk
for the
about-
sake of film,
for the sake of film and everything working out, but it's like everything seems really well and grounded. It's not like, I mean, you know, Mad Max is something completely different because it's, you know, a totally different environment and a totally different universe. But this is like, oh, hey, you're in downtown Atlanta. It's like, no one's like doing unrealistic gunplay. No one's doing all this crap. And that we can even segue into John Wick for if we want to talk about good gunplay.
No.
But,
Don't even bring me up
you
about
did-
that dog,
Alright.
dude.
All right.
oh
Blake.
yeah, that dog. Fuck. Sorry.
I haven't seen either of them, so I need to.
They're
Well,
so
if you,
good.
if you want to cry,
Yeah, if you
there's
if you
one
yeah.
segment in
if-
the movie.
if you want to cry, the first 15 minutes.
I mean,
of,
I know what happens.
John Wick.
I feel like I just can't. I can't prepare myself
I
enough
can't
for that.
watch it.
No, you can't. There's no
I-
possible way of you
I
trying
watched
to
it
prepare
once,
yourself for that.
and I legit, I'm not gonna. I was crying. I'm like, why?
That is horrible.
Because you get,
Yeah,
because the
no.
whole context surrounding it is so like sad and
That's-
traumatizing.
okay.
That's
alright.
why John Wick gets so pissed off in those movies is because his
Mm-hmm.
dog died. He that dog bit the bullet. Okay, let's just.
Okay, I have two things. Was it just the dog dying, or was it like the lead up to? I mean, sorry, spoilers. But,
Spoiler alert.
was it
John
like the
Wick
lead up
doesn't do
to
his
it?
dog
It's
dies.
okay.
Was it like the lead up to it? Because I know the mafia is involved, and why did they just target this guy's dog? Like,
Well, I mean, it's full spoiler, Braden. I mean, yeah.
I mean, I can close my ears if you want. I can
No,
mute
it's not.
myself for a second.
Essentially, I'm not going to really reveal that much, but some guys break into this guy's house and kind of beat the shit out of him,
Yeah.
and then
The dog starts barking.
the dog
guys
starts
that
barking.
break in, they're like, kill that damn dog. They do, and then John Wick just comes in and just kicks all of their ass in a matter of seconds because they killed his dog. Okay.
Oh wow.
The combat system in that game, not the game, the movie, is just so hilarious and just it's good. It's a
So
really
well done.
good time
I haven't
of that.
I haven't seen the movie, but I came down when my dad was watching it. I came downstairs at the like perfect time. It was the scene where the Godfather dude was like calling the mechanic. He's like, "Yo, why won't you work on my son's new car?" And he just goes, yeah, that your son's who's the car, it's John Wick's." And the mafia guy just goes, "Oh,
Sorry.
and hangs up.
Yeah, he's like, I heard you struck my son. And he's like, any
Yeah.
reason? And he's like, oh, the car he brought in was John Wick's car. And he's like, oh, thank you. And then he just hangs up the phone because he just,
Yep.
he knows.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's
So
a
does the
whole
mechanic, for God's
backstory and
sake.
lineage to why everything is, and it's well explained in the movie and in the second movie even more, and third movie will be coming out here shortly.
Yeah.
Oh my god! But the amount, the reason it's so good, and the cinematography is very well done, and all the gunplay and
So
everything is
good.
really executed. But they had Keanu Reeves do, I don't know, like 5 additional months of 3-gun training. So, like, all of his combat action scenes are the most realistic, aside from using actual, like, active duty military personnel. Like, for something like when they did Zero Dark 30 or something like that, where they actually used active personnel for their, like, filming and roles and stuff like that. I don't know if it was Zero Dark 30 or it was one of the ones when, I don't know if it was for Osama bin Laden or just over in Iraq, Afghanistan kind of scenario.
So it's not like Kingsman level of.
No,
my
it's
God.
not. It's not. Like Kingsman,
Or like Hot Fuzz or something like that.
No, it's not comical at all. It is real world, like, like one in the chest, one in the head. Like.
So it's like it's realistic. It's not like the whole like
it's
the
very
bad guys
realistic.
miss the guy
to a
100
point,
times.
he's supposed to be like the world's best assassin. So he has superior skills, but
Yeah.
everything in the world, I mean, aside from like, oh hey, that gun's placed very nicely there, is everything's run very well. It's not like, oh hey, he has a revolver and he just shot 13 times with a revolver without reloading.
Yeah.
And it's been the same exact shot, so it's not like, oh, maybe he reloaded it while he was taking cover behind this brick wall. No.
No. The director just got lazy. He's
Yeah,
like,
no,
I
it's
don't wanna
actually
shoot
very
different
well
scenes of
versed
him
and very
shooting.
well done. Which is really refreshing to see in a movie, because that's one of my biggest gripes about TV and movies, where it's like, oh hey, let's take this interesting perspective on this movie, and it's going to be shot in 2049, and then you go to that scenario, and they're still using the same like style and brand of weapons that were produced in like the 60s, or like the
Yeah.
concepts that were come up in the 70s, and I'm like, this is,
It's just
50,
not original.
50 years on down the road. I'm like, you can at least do some, gosh, I don't know what the term is.
Creating of new
what?
things. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you could hire people to literally create new weapons that
Well,
are
like,
completely
look
creative
look
and
what they did
new
with
and
Star
different and
Wars.
original.
Like I can't remember. There's a word for it, and I'm not going to call it upcycling, but where they like let's take a C96 Mauser, and we'll put like some high-tech spacey gizmo shit on it, and now it becomes his blaster.
Yeah.
Or we'll take a Lewis gun
Or
and
like
we'll
a-
put a little thing on it, and now it becomes a blaster. And it's
Or
like,
like
Take
yeah,
an
a
MG,
crossbow.
we'll take an MG42, remove the belt, remove the bipod, change the barrel, and now we've got a DP22.
or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
And, you can at least come up with something, but it's like, hey, when you roll into this scenario, and some stuff is futuristic, but there's also just like a bunch of henchmen in the back sitting there with like P90s, you're like, oh, well, that's been out for
Yeah.
70 years.
And
I mean,
When,
cool, innovative 5.7 millimeter round, but come on.
all this I don't know what to call it, like use of old technologies is like making me think of like what we still use from like old school movies,
Mhm.
because like there's techniques that some most people still use in old school movies, and even then there's a lot of things that we've changed. So like, silent movies, and the fact that most movie cameras can only be shot, like a single scene can only be shot for like 30 seconds, fun fact, there was a movie that was seemed all continuously shot from like the same angle, right? But the only way they got it was still with like the 30-second scene time or whatever it was, and the only way they could do that was to somehow block the camera and make it seem like it was just like in the way of the actors, and the scene was still going on in the background.
Didn't they do that with like Birdman?
I think so.
I haven't seen Birdman.
I believe.
I haven't seen it either, but I watched like movie reviewers on YouTube, but they did that same thing where they'd have 2 takes, but the camera would go around a light pole while the subject would walk behind it, and they would use that to initiate a scene change. So I know exactly what we're talking about, Trevor. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. And then it makes me think like in like 2050, we're gonna have like interactive movies. You're gonna go to the movie theater. You're gonna sit in a chair, and it's gonna like there's no screen. It's just gonna like lower like a headset onto you, and you like choose what the guy does in the movie or something like that. Like that would be so cool.
I mean, we can come full circle to the whole VR situation again.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I accidentally did that. Whoops.
There you go.
We're not going back into Ready Player One.
Yeah.
No, but I do want to kind of talk about that, just because I was thinking about the same thing, like, with video games becoming more and more cinematic and more like movies, is there going to be a point where they cross? Not with like real life actors, but like movies in video games. Like, would you be able to experience this,
Like,
the world of like Fallout 4, in VR and like be in there and have things happening around you, or are they gonna diverge? You think video games and movies are gonna kind of come together, or do you think they're gonna kind of like asymptote, kind of like come up right next to each other, but then never meet? Go ahead, Trevor.
I think I think that video game movies are eventually going to, I think they are going to meet, because they're going to turn. The only way that a video game can like keep a captive audience is because you are the main character. You feel what the main character feels most of the time with good games.
Yeah.
Like Fallout, for example. Yeah, your son got kidnapped. Your wife or your spouse dies.
Spoilers.
Spoilers of the first 10 minutes of the game.
And then you gotta go find him, and then you have to survive in a
Spoilers
terrible,
the
terrible
entire
place.
game.
So like, there's that part of it. You don't need all that much of a setup. But for movies, you can't just jump right in, because people who's never played the games don't feel as much as the players have, and that's why most video game movies kind of suck. So I think they're gonna definitely combine.
I'd like to
they're
throw
gonna be
something in
like-
after this.
I feel like they're gonna be like, yo, how about we make a movie with like a bunch of different cuts and takes and like branching storylines, and they get to choose what to do, so they feel like their actions have consequences and stuff like that. Dylan,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Lara
that was
Croft.
a ramble. Oh
Yes.
God.
Too many.
Please.
Yeah. I don't want to get into the whole thing like, oh man, she can't play Lara Croft because her breasts aren't big enough.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
I hate
At
people
that
who are
point-
like that. Like,
That's
oh,
the
this
only
dude can't
reason,
play this
Dylan.
character because he doesn't portray it correctly. Like, people who complain about like the possibility of James Bond being black.
Okay,
So,
if Idris
did you
Elba
fe- did
doesn't
you feel
become
the same-
James Bond, I'm gonna be really upset. I'm just gonna
Like,
throw that in
people
there.
complain about that because the original James Bond was white, and they want it
That's
to stay that way,
BS,
and it's
dude.
stupid, and it's unnecessary.
The only way I have an issue with that is be like, all right, James Bond, but now we're gonna have a female James Bond. Like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
like, okay, that's
The
where,
Ghostbusters.
That's
No.
Ghostbusters.
no, that's where I draw the line. I'm like, I'm fine. Like, like, sure, this started out as a white thing. In when was the first movie released? 1962 or something?
Of Ghostbusters?
No, Bond.
No, we're not talking about Ghostbusters.
Ian
Ghostbusters.
Fleming's
The
James
first
Bond.
Ghostbusters was released in 1984.
Okay, shut up. We don't care about Ghostbusters. But, like, sure, and you had the whole thing, and I love Daniel Craig. I mean, this is my generation, so personally, I'm probably going to choose Daniel Craig as my favorite Bond.
007.
It's like, yeah, I mean, if you want to have a person of Asian descent or an African American or anyone like that actually can portray him in a good, decent light and not try to, and I'm not trying to make it all political, but like about like, hey, we need to spread awareness for other diversity and casting and everything like that. I don't want it to be about that. I don't want it to be a diversity hire. I don't care what nationality or race this person is, but if they can portray the role and do it correctly and do it well to the standard that the people that have done it before them, I am fine with it. But,
I'm with you.
Yep.
but when
Can
you
I
get into
interrupt
that
for half a
dangerous
second?
gray zone of Ghostbusters, now a female cast, I'm like, well, it's completely different because it's not like the same Ghostbusters. It's different, but I think it crosses a line where they had what came out this past summer, Atomic Blonde,
Yep.
where
Movie was
it's
garbage.
like this is the female James Bond, and yeah, like it was garbage. It was complete utter ass. But
All right, can I budge in?
yeah, go
real
for
quick?
it. I got my
all right.
rants out.
You wanted to know what the first James Bond movie was, or like one of them, right?
Casino
Yeah.
Royale.
What?
It was Casino
no,
Royale. The
I
original.
don't think so.
Yes, it was. I bet you $100.
The original movie?
The original James Bond. It was a satire. It was called Casino Royale.
With Daniel Craig, maybe, but like 1964 was
no.
Goldfinger.
No. I promise.
Okay,
Here, let me
okay.
find it.
Anyways, that's not my point, right? So I
frantically searches Google.
Ooh, I found it. Here. Do you want me to read it out loud?
Yes.
No, hold on.
Do you want me to, do you want me to
'Cause
definitely prove you wrong?
I know you can, but just let me speak for just a second, okay?
All right, I'll save it.
Because I looked up James Bond movies, and in Google I went to the right, and there's a James Bond movie from 1983 called Octopussy. I'm not lying. I'm not kidding. I am not kidding.
No, I know that exists.
What is it?
Ian Fleming.
All right,
Oh,
so
God.
Casino Royale is a 1967 British-American spy comedy film originally produced by Columbia Pictures featuring an ensemble cast. It's loosely based on Ian Fleming's first James Bond novel. So it really wasn't like the first James Bond. It was like this comedy thing that...
Yeah.
So really the first like real James Bond, which of like
Was-
how we know him today, was Goldfinger. I
Goldfinger,
believe.
yeah, 1964. I knew it was in the early 60s, so I was close, 2 years off.
Another
I'm sorry,
thing,
Trevor. I kind of feel like
whole-
a dick now.
No, you're fine.
The
You're
whole
fine.
thing with James Bond being another race, I'm all for it, but there is one particular thing that I draw the line, and it may seem like, oh yeah, I'm racist, but no, like that's not what I'm getting at. The whole thing with Black Panther being white. This was a whole thing before the movie came out, and everybody's like, oh, what if he was white, and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, well, Black Panther's an African king, and I know there's white people that live in Africa and all that.
South Africa.
Africa.
Yeah, South Africa. It's
The
not
rich
like
white people.
Wakanda
The
is
rich
based in the
white tip
middle
of
of
Africa.
Africa. There are no white people that are from the middle of Africa that own and are the ruler of a hidden
kingdom.
city in Africa. Like it's not how the comic books and all of that
You gotta
was
stay true to the
supposed to
comic
be.
books, and I feel like that's why they're
supposed
doing
to be
that.
played.
To an extent, I'm fine with that, but like I'm fine as long as it comes close. I mean, if you're casting a traditional, like if you cast, I don't know, Oliver Queen, the traditional white billionaire playboy philanthropist, as a different race, I'm like, you have to come up with a different backstory, kind of. Like, I think
They did that with they did that in the same show, Arrow. They did that with Diggle's son, Connor. Since Diggle is black, Diggle was an original character that they made for the show, and they decided to make Oliver Queen's son, Connor, from the comics. They decided to make him Diggle's son. That the Legends of Tomorrow, like they changed the timeline. It gets confusing. I'm not going to get into that, but they
I got
changed
you.
that entire timeline. and the future Green Arrow, after Oliver Queen retired, was black, and everyone was cool with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the comic book nerd.
Yes,
Yes.
that's me.
Shows his true colors.
That's
Yeah,
me.
there it is.
That's me.
Yeah.
If you
How
want
do you
more,
get-
hit me
how-
up.
Follow him on Twitter at Paytato.
Yeah, that's me.
For more
Um,
video game
Follow me on
knowledge.
Instagram, Potato23.
Guys, you
Follow
can
me
plug
on Twitter.
yourselves
Don't
later.
follow me on Twitter. Actually, that's a waste of your time. Don't do that.
I don't believe in Twitter.
Hey, I had
Twitter is a,
Yeah,
it's a
neither
shit
do I.
show.
But Peyton, how do you get into comic books? Like,
Oh goodness.
hold on. I've got some comic books on my shelf over here.
Oh yeah.
It's a
And they're
manga
probably
book.
like
Do you read? Question.
No, I've
question. Is
got-
this comic book? Do you read it? Do you read it right
Absolutely
to left?
not comic books.
read it
no,
backwards?
I've got some Conan the Barbarian, the Amazing Spider-Man,
Hey.
a bunch of X-Men stuff. I think I organized
all
them
smut
all.
films?
I did, yeah. What's this one? Tentacle? Oh no. Like, these are all my dad's old ones, and like, do you need to start from like the very like first comic to understand
No.
anything, or
Absolutely not.
Adam, an answer from
Absolutely
the comic
not.
book.
You do not.
Comic book nerd.
I have barely read comic books, even though, like, oh, I'm a nerd. You read comic books, nerd. Like, eat ass. Like, no, like that's not. Like, no, like, you don't need to read comic books in order to understand what's going on, because I personally, yeah, I love comic books. I own them, but I'm more of a graphic novel guy and movie guy, and so I read those, and half the time I don't understand what's going on because they're like in a different part of the issue, and it's just, it gets confusing. But
I have a question for you, Peyton, because
Dude.
it kind of is something that I want to get your opinion about it first.
go.
So, when you have this, the past 2 decades have been huge for superhero,
Superhero movies.
yeah, that whole
Started in
genre
2000
has kind of
with
exploded.
X-Men, and then Spider-Man, and then Iron Man, which started the
Except
MCU.
X-Men's garbage.
I appreciate the X-Men because you know why? Hugh Jackman, hands down, open and shut case, go. Like, no,
No, I didn't mean it was garbage. I just it was
yeah,
it
Hugh
hasn't
Jackman is
gone
like
over
the
super
best. Oh, and Professor X. What's his name? McAvoy, Patrick
well.
Stewart.
We're not talking
That's
about like
him.
Fantastic Four level of
Oh, no.
garbage. I'm just saying
Yeah.
didn't go
Or
over
Green
super
Lantern. Like, no.
well. Oh,
Ew.
don't even.
Oh my god.
Hey,
Okay.
what were you getting to, Dylan? Sorry.
So, does it ever bother you or irk you when you have something like I'm nowhere close to a comic book like nerd as much as you are. I've read a few, but I know a lot of like history and everything like that. Not necessarily like direct quotations, but I know characters, I know backstories, I know that kind of generic
Right.
stuff, and I like characters. I have a lot of favorite characters. I love Deadpool, I love Deadshot, I love Deathstroke.
Dylan likes death.
Literally all of the characters that are the
All my
same
favorite characters have
person.
death in them.
They are the same person. They just are owned by different companies.
yeah, yeah, it's like I love the anti-hero, everything like that. But aside from that point, does it ever bother you when something comes out? This can come back to you too, Braden. But it's like, since you love Iron Man, but when
yeah, I do.
a hero or something gets brought out into the quote-unquote like major spotlight of like the world, and it's like, oh hey, cool, look at Deadpool, and it's like, I knew about Deadpool when I was 12, and I've been looking forward to this movie for 3 years, and now all these random people jump on board, and they're like, Deadpool's the best, and I'm Team Deadpool, and blah 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 blah, and all this fanatic bullshit about, hey man,
Way to just completely destroy your conversation with me, Dylan. Thank you.
I won't
What?
bleep that out.
what happened?
Peyton came into his room. He's like, "Hey, man."
podcast. This is a PG podcast. You asshole.
Did he walk in naked? Oh, that would be great.
That is rule number
That's
one.
what you need to know.
That's fine. Anyway, no, I was just gonna interject. The whole mainstream of Pokemon. where I've been a
Okay.
Pokemon fan since the first time I played Pokemon, and then when Pokemon Go came out, all the people that
Everybody.
used to make fun of me for liking Pokemon and like putting
Exactly.
me down were all like,
Yeah.
dude,
So-
I caught this thing.
There
And I
it
was
is.
like, you were calling me a loser yesterday for playing
Yeah.
my DS in the middle of band.
You sounded so
So
hurt
true.
when you said
And
that.
I know that sounded so real because it
which
is.
which I understand sounds really lame, but like I am a big fan, and like
yeah.
if you're a fan of anything, you're gonna. I don't know, and I just felt like kind of betrayed by everybody I knew because it was like,
Yeah.
okay,
No, yeah,
you
like-
before didn't know what Pikachu was, and now you're like, I'm catching all the Pokemon. And you're like, okay, I understand
no,
it's
you're
like it's
not.
a big deal and it's like viral and whatever, but like,
Oh, I know.
when the mainstream turns everybody to be like, oh man, Iron Man's so cool, I'm Team Cap or whatever. It's like,
I
what are you
fucking
talking
hate
about?
that. And
The whole
it
Team
goes,
Cap
it
and
goes
Team
no.
Iron Man situation kind of grinds
and-
my gears too.
Oh, same. We've had enough conversations about that. I don't want to start that again.
I think, and
Jesus.
like, I don't think it helps. Like, don't get me wrong. I love what the CW and Warner Brothers have done with revamping DC into a new era for the younger generation. You have Flash, you have Arrow, you have Legends of Tomorrow, you have
Black
Supergirl.
Lightning.
You got Black Lightning now too, so you have some more cultural diversity and that, and it's more on a political rhetoric kind of course. But it kind of grinds my gears because I'm like, I've loved these characters for years, and and I really don't have even that much room to speak because, you know, like if a kid read comic books, you know, in the 80s and he got bullied and teased for it and everything now it's cool and mainstream.
Oh my god.
It's like it kind of grinds my gears, and it's like because it comes back to like my sister's like, oh man, I started watching Arrow, and I'm like,
Ew.
okay. I'm like,
What happened to me saying
I'm like,
you should watch Arrow?
what's okay? And like, and she's like, oh, it has all these cool things, and it has this guy, and his name's Oliver Queen, and I'm like,
I know.
I've known about this for years, and now it's becoming like mainstream, and I'm like, I kind of feel like like the culture kind of loses a part of itself because it's no longer like close knit almost, where like you can sit down and you can talk to your buddy about like, oh hey, this and this and this about you know, who would win in a fight, Green Arrow or whatever villain or whatever superhero you want to pit him against. 'Cause now it's
Yeah.
just been kind of cast into this light of everyone has access to it. And I mean, which is not necessarily a bad thing because it, you know, it spreads awareness, not awareness, but it's not cancer, but you know, it kind of like,
It is to some. Who knows?
do you kind of get what I'm saying? Like going with is like,
No, yeah.
Yeah, like things that are becoming hated or not hated, but like frowned upon, are becoming more mainstream. Like,
Well, I mean,
it's
sorry,
the
go ahead.
same thing as if like way back in the day, 1940s, 30s ish, when people were like, "Yo, why is that kid reading comic books? It's gonna scar his brain. He's got to go out and play with sticks and hoops, right?"
sticks and hoops. This
Yeah,
is like
a lot of,
1880s. Bitch,
lot
like you're killing bison and shit. like,
With that stick.
No. But like,
You're
I get
hunted.
where you're coming from, Trevor. Like a lot of people, like parents back then, didn't want their kids to be reading comic books because they thought that it would teach them violence, and they don't want that, right? So like, what I'm assuming kids would do is probably sneak out of their house and go to their comic book shop and read like they would sit down in the comic book shop, read their comic books, and leave because they didn't have money
Yeah.
to buy those comic books back then because they were expensive for what they were. Even like they were like 10 cents or 15 cents or whatever, but that was a lot of money for like a little kid back then, you know? It's like,
yeah.
Well,
Some of the
Go ahead, sorry.
some of the comics I was looking at on my shelf, they have like I think the cheapest one I saw was like 40 cents,
Mhm.
and that was at least like mid 70s, early 80s. So, I mean, first of all, inflation is a bitch.
oh yeah, and you got to remember in the 70s, minimum wage was like $1. Maybe
Oh,
maybe
it was, really?
like 80s or even then. It's like that's like $1. So if you're still spending that,
Dude.
like if you account for inflation and now, it's like, oh hey, minimum wage is what, $7.25 national, blah 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 blah. It's like that the equivalency of that comic book, just rough estimate off my head, is like what? It's like $3.50. or something.
Probably.
Yeah, it's like
About.
they're not necessarily cheap, but they're not necessarily like
Really
Yeah.
expensive. They're not first appearances like Superman 1939. 10 cents is now worth $5 million, which is an actual thing. It's crazy how
It's sorry.
it's just I don't know, like fun fact, actually, I don't know, this just kind of popped in my head. Dylan, when you said people were getting bullied over comic books, how they were just reading them in class or whatever, Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
bullied this kid in high school for reading a comic book,
Yeah.
took his comic book, ripped it up to shreds. That comic book,
was
guess
Iron
what?
Man.
Was Iron Man. It was an Iron Man comic book. And I think that's hilarious because
Well,
it just shows.
Look at Robert Downey
Yeah.
Jr.
Now
he
he's
makes
the
he
highest
makes
paid actor.
million. He got paid $50 million for his little appearance in Spider-Man: Homecoming. Like
He got 50 mil for that?
or more. Yes. I'm
What?
serious. Like that's why they didn't make an Iron Man 4 or a Spider-Man 4 because these actors wanted so much money.
They are
That's-
definitely killing him off in the next Avengers movie.
God
like,
damn it.
There's
Like,
no way
that's-
he's not gonna. There's no way he's not gonna die.
That's why they recast Bruce Banner in the Hulk is because Edward Norton wanted too much money to reprise his role.
Wow.
Like it's just
Lame.
I mean,
They're
Mark Ruffalo
selfish.
does a great job.
No,
love
yeah, I
Mark
like him a
Ruffalo.
lot better.
I like his Bruce Banner, but I like Edward Norton's Hulk. Sorry.
I have one point I wanted to get across. I'm losing it right now. Can't remember. Oops. Oh, the fan service type stuff. When you guys were talking about how kind of it flipped to the mainstream, and now, for me, it bothers me how much fan service is in all these movies. Like even Star Wars, all these Marvel movies are all like trying to sell merchandise, and like when comic books are being written, it's like this author and this artist are like working together to make this comic book. It's not like they're trying to like fit stuff together to sell more stuff. So like it kind of makes me sad to like I was reading an Iron Man comic that like is not even close to being in the MCU because they're not gonna stoop to that kind of like background lore, you know, to throw this thing in. And then the other thing I was thinking about was like how people can at this time like go to a Hot Topic, pick up a Captain America shirt, and then pretend they know about superheroes, and like that's completely acceptable.
Can I just say real quick?
Go for it.
These who was it? George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. You know how they're friends, right? Like they know each other pretty well.
Yeah.
I'd hope so.
Two of the biggest movie tycoons, yeah.
Yeah. So they were like collaborating with each other when each of them were making it was
Bank.
A New Hope and extra E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And one of them said they made a bet, and I don't remember what the bet entirely entailed, but it was that it was whichever movie did something, right? They would get the other person would get like a profit of the merchandise which the movie sold, right? So Steven Spielberg ended up winning the bet. So now he gets like 75% of all Star Wars merchandise. I don't know what happened now that Disney has it, but yeah. And on the same page, you know, the Witcher and the author Andrei Sapkowski. When CD Projekt Red came up to him and said, "Yo, we want to make a game," right? He said, "Go ahead, do it. Pay me like $5 million and I'll give you the rights for it." And he took that, and he had two choices of a deal. It was that, or get a profit of the game, right? Like all the games that they were ever gonna make with The Witcher, he gets a profit of. He took the thing that all lottery winners get, and he took the instant money, right? But
And
now that The
now
Witcher is like one of the most
best-selling.
selling AAA games, he is out like hundreds of of dollars probably.
But-
Rip.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
like totally rip, but in the hindsight, like 5 mil now, like that's really enticing to put your
I mean,
future.
it's enough for you to live the rest of your life.
Oh
Like, you
yeah,
don't have to
very
worry about it.
and there's-
comfortably.
there's no way he would have had that much foresight. Like,
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
blame
there's
him for
insurance
that,
in the
but
5 million rather than being
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, I wonder how this game's gonna go. I'm just gonna put my whole life on the line.
I could get 5 million now, or the possibility of 3 million in the future, like,
or jack shit in the
or
future.
more, like,
Yeah.
or even less. Like,
And that's always like, I'm like, when it kind of comes down to that is like, do you want the guaranteed payday? And it's kind of like, yeah, in the grand scheme of things, yeah, sure, you might make a buttload of money in the long run, but I mean, if you can live comfortably off that 5 mil, I mean, you could invest half of it. Like,
Yeah,
And
with
it's
that
not like
kind
he's
of,
not gonna work from then
oh
on.
no,
He's
and it's
probably
like
still
with
gonna
that
be
kind of
working, too.
capital too, just set away, you could go do whatever you wanted. You could open your own business and do what you want. It's like, yeah, sure, maybe you lose out on the possibility of all that money, but money changes people, and that's not necessarily a great thing to have $300 million just sitting there. I mean, it would be amazing, but you know.
yeah.
Well, boys, it's getting late. Should we wrap
Yeah.
this up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. That was like the one we kind of talked about. Like, do you feel when we were talking about the comics? It's like, oh hey, yeah, you can go to a Hot Topic, buy a Captain America shirt, and be like, oh hey, I'm a fan now. And I feel like
Yeah.
that kind of takes away from the whole. And that's what I was kind of getting at when I was talking about mine. Is like when I saw Suicide Squad, and I really enjoyed Suicide Squad. Yes, the plot was complete crap. Blah 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 blah. There was issues, everything like that. And yeah, Jared Leto, not the best Joker. Whatever.
Yeah. No.
But when you
don't
still
even get me
had,
started.
when you still had, I think you had an all-star cast still. Like, you got Will Smith for
Margot
Deadshot,
Robbie.
Margot Robbie. You got Joel Kinnaman for Rick Flag, and I love him. He's so
Mhm.
good.
You got Ben Affleck too, that just
yeah,
had a small
you got a little cameo
in
real
there.
fast with Batman, and you got some good characters, everything like that. And that's something where I didn't care if about the whole, with Enchantress and blah 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 blah. And I mean, El Diablo, very good, but
So good.
so fantastic. It was one of the best parts of the movie. But in the end, like, yeah, sure, the plot was shit and all this crap happened, but I was there for the few characters that I loved. I was there for Deadshot. I was there for, I mean, oh yeah, and you had what's his face? Oh god, it's gonna kill me.
Killer Croc.
No, well that too, but no. Who did they get to play Captain Boomerang? Jai Courtney. And I personally like Jai Courtney. A lot of people don't like Jai Courtney. That's, your own personal thing. I love Jai Courtney, but it was these elements, these characters, and I feel like they portrayed them so well that I didn't care that the plot was shit. I had a great time with watching Will Smith kill Deadshot, one of my favorite anti-heroes, one of my favorite comic book characters ever. I'm like, yeah, sure. And now that we have the Suicide Squad 2 coming out too, which is gonna be great, and hopefully they do the plot better. I think it's confirmed, isn't it?
I was just talking about how it might be good.
Yeah, it's like I don't really care. I'm like, I get to see the one character that doesn't get a whole lot of screen time being portrayed in this light, and it's
Oh, and then you got talking about screen time. Slipknot did not.
Rip
He
Slipknot.
got killed off in the first 5 minutes of the film.
Yeah, that kind of sucked.
Corey Taylor? Hello?
No, we're
My-
not talking about the
my-
band here.
I'm not
Trevor.
talking about the band Slipknot, no.
No, Dylan, I
Okay.
totally get what you're talking about, though, because, like, for me, I am a huge Iron Man fan. You all know that.
Oh yes.
But when I talk about, like, oh, I loved Iron Man 2, everybody else is like, what is wrong with you? That was a garbage
yeah.
movie.
I
But,
love
like,
that movie.
I live for the suit, like the briefcase suit up
Oh
when
my
he's
Oh,
on,
yeah.
the, on
god,
the track.
it's so
Yeah.
good. I
Dude,
just
the
I
Mark
sit
5 suit up
there
is like, I
and
would
just
watch the
watch
whole
that.
movie and watch that. Like,
Yeah. Like,
I don't know, like exactly the same as you were talking about. Like I live to see Robert Downey Jr. like kill it as Iron Man. Like the character is what I like it for, and obviously all the suit ups and all the really cool like tech stuff. But like I couldn't care less that the Mandarin ended up being some like
British actor.
and I
Trevor.
mean that whole thing. Yeah, I'm sorry, Peyton, for like the comic book side, but like
What did I do?
he didn't do anything. It's his character's name. Don't worry about it.
But like I absolutely love seeing Iron Man in pretty much anything, and like I would watch. I mean, I haven't seen Homecoming yet, but like I would watch that movie 100 times just to see the point where Iron Man steps out of the front of the suit, because that's like the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Oh my god!
Yeah, literally, he just opens out of it. It's like, ugh.
They're
and then,
so
You're
good.
not even here. Am I here?
if you'd
Oh
actually
my
care, you'd
God.
actually be here. What? Huh?
Just opens
I'm
up.
here.
Or Captain America: The Winter Soldier in the helicopter, and he puts his finger into the helicopter, and it just fucking. Oh.
He actually did that, by the way.
What?
And, wait. No, that was Civil War.
Was that Civil War? Not
That
Winter
was-
Soldier.
well-
no, sorry. Yeah.
Well,
I'm-
Civil War, he
That
pulled
was
the
when he
helicopter
was,
down.
Yeah, holding the helicopter on the
Yes.
on the helipad, right?
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm
Yeah,
talking.
He did that, yeah.
I'm talking. Well, yeah, actually, that no, but you're right. It was
Crazy.
it
Chris
was
Evans
Civil
is
War, not Winter Soldier.
crazy.
No, but I was talking about Stark in the helicopter, and he puts his finger onto like the console, and his.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yes, I don't know what Jen's suit that was, but
No, because it was at the end of
what Mark's suit, but
Oh, what movie was that?
that was when that was
That was Civil War.
That was Civil War, yes.
Yeah, because he was going to the
Siberia
prison where
or
all
wherever the hell
other
it
guys
is.
were.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
The
he
raft.
he pressed the button, and then like the seat fell back, and like
And it, yeah,
put
it
him in the
just
suit,
that
and he
was
fell
Civil
out
War.
the back.
Yep.
Dude, that kind of stuff is like, and that's what I would go to. I would pay to see a
Or
whole
like
movie
when
of
he
just
in
that.
Iron Man 3 where he puts the implants in his arm and he's like, here,
Yes.
come iron armor, come to me, and it's just like, yes, dude,
Or
give
like
me more
when
of
he's
that.
when they're on the oil rig at the end of Iron Man 3, and
Mm-hmm.
like he like ejects from one suit, and like
and
the
then
other one
yeah,
comes and
it
flies
goes into
in and
another
catches
one.
him.
Oh my god.
Oh boy!
Here's-
Now I want to
here's-
watch Iron Man 3.
Yeah, me
Here's
too.
my unpopular opinion. I did not like the entirety of 2, and I only liked parts of 1 and 3.
All right, well, thanks for listening, everybody. We're gonna.
Yeah, no kidding. And on that note,
I
goodbye.
No, I want to end it on I want to end it on a
I'm
high
kidding,
note.
Trevor. Continue.
I thought, and I never got my last thought in, but probably unpopular opinion, because I never really knew much about this hero. I thought Ant-Man was a fantastic movie.
Fantastic
Oh,
movie,
awesome
though.
movie.
it was good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
so
it was
the
so
visual
good.
effects
I was
are
like-
stunning.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what the fuck? They're making the movie out of an ant? And then I saw the movie, and I'm like, I like it.
Also,
It's good.
Paul Rudd is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Let me just
Oh,
say.
Michael
Sure.
Pena, don't even
Alright.
get me started on him. He's hilarious. Oh
They
my
casted
god.
they casted that movie so well.
Oh,
Oh, he's reoccurring his role.
Oh man,
dude.
well we'll
reprising.
continue fawning over superhero movies
God.
next time.
Yes.
Change this podcast name to freaking the movie podcast or something.
Yeah,
'cause, like,
seriously.
we can't get off of movies.
Oh,
This
hey,
is
talk
we
about
got
just
to
our
talk about
baseline.
Deadpool 2 later.
Wait,
oh.
wait.
I was gonna bring that up.
I was gonna bring that up during the whole race situation with Domino, but yeah, whatever.
All right, next time. Hopefully.
Yeah, we'll
Sometime
continue this. We'll continue this another time.
Yeah.
But any last comments, boys?
Mm,
I can't spark anything because if I do, it's gonna turn
It's
into
gonna-
another
it's gonna-
hour-long
Yeah, no-
conversation.
no
so I'm
movie
not gonna
opinions,
do
please.
that. I'm not gonna do that. That's not gonna
If
happen.
you guys want to plug any of your social media or
I already
anything,
did that. I think I'm good in that department.
you can look me up on YouTube. I guess it's just, you know what? Actually, don't, because it's trash. It's all garbage. It's all
Well,
trash.
It's not.
Don't
Okay.
do it.
Don't listen to him. I've watched this stuff. It's fine. It's great.
I mean, you can if you want
Check
to.
it out.
It's
Go ahead and throw it out there.
Visa, Visa. If you want to look it up, go to channels. You should find me. It's my profile picture. It's a block of cheese with a smiley face. That's right.
What even
yep.
is that?
He just said what it was.
It's-
It's a block of cheese with
It's a
my
block of
lips.
cheese with a smiley face.
All right.
Oh my
no
God.
history needed. I'm gonna
Seriously.
plug the site YouTube.com. Just that. I like that site.
That's a good site. I
Spend
like
a lot
that.
of time on there.
Yeah.
Dillon, you want to plug anything?
No, I want. I had a story to
no,
tell.
cut. Smash cut.
We're gonna save that for next time. Dylan.
Okay, it's about a block of cheese.
Go ahead. Oh my god.
Oh no.
What?
All right.
Make sure to write that down. We'll start
Okay.
with that next time. Okay.
We'll start with the block of cheese story next time.
All right. Yeah. Make sure to. We'll remember. I'll remember. I'll write it down.
Yes, yes, we will.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold on,
Well,
I'll-
boys, thanks for joining me. This has been a fun hour and 18 minutes and 5 seconds.
Oh my God, yeah.
And I really hope we get to do this soon. Thanks everybody who's
Yes.
listening to us blather about superhero movies for about
And
30 minutes.
Oh,
we
God.
went from Overwatch to Dunkirk to Ready Player One to superheroes to race to
issues.
equality.
Oh my god,
to
we did
all
just
this
talk about
stuff.
superhero movies, didn't we?
Yes, we did, and there's nothing wrong with it. Embrace who you are, Brayden.
All right.
Embrace it.
This is just going to be called, the title of this is just going to be called movie.
Movie.
Singular movie.
I don't even watch superhero movies that much.
Oh, dude.
All right,
I
no, we're
own
done.
all of them.
We're done. We're done. End the podcast.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.